And here's the thing. I don't want anyone to hear us saying like stay-at-home mom is better than working mom or working mom is better than stay-at-home mom. Like all moms are amazing.
It's about calling.
It's about calling.
It's about your lane.
Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Girls Podcast.
The Girls Podcast.
We are about to have a time.
I'm excited about it.
I'm flanked by two of my sisters, two of my favorite people on the planet.
Yay.
We love
and we have real life chemistry.
It's true.
So I think the chemistry for this is about to hit.
I don't know what's about to happen.
I'm a little nervous.
You just never know.
I was like, what is going to happen?
And some of us have had caffeine. Some of us have had beef jerky. So
I did
we're
just eat a
ready.
chopstick.
So we're ready. We're really ready
Yes.
for anything.
We are.
Truly.
Yes.
Anything could happen.
Anything could happen. So we just want you to buckle up and get ready.
Yep.
We're here for
Because
this.
we're about to put this show on the road.
Unhinged.
Yeah,
Unhinged,
We're ready.
yes.
This could go on tour. I don't know. I'm
It
just saying
could. It
The
could.
Girls
It could.
Podcast Unhinged edition.
Sponsored by Espresso and Chomps.
Exactly.
They are so good.
Exactly.
They are so
but
good.
not paid sponsor, just
Yeah,
sponsored
just-
verbally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
yeah.
What can't we
We
do,
just
though?
endorse it.
Yeah, we do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we endorse it.
Because what works, if it works, it works.
Yeah,
works.
it does.
Mild or spicy?
Mild. It's
Mild.
it's like the
like the red.
plain. Yeah, the red one.
Yeah.
But I tried the yellow one, and it was
The
like
turkey one?
yes, the turkey one. It's
Is it
not
not
like
the same?
No, it's not the same at all.
It's not the same. No.
No.
One time I had one in my house that was left unattended, and it turned a color, and it wasn't like the true red
Was it
color
opened?
anymore. No, it wasn't open, but it expired somehow. I didn't even know beef jerky could expire.
Did you
but
eat it?
expired.
Too
I didn't
hot?
eat it. I didn't eat it. I think maybe one of the kids left it in the sun and
Is
then
that
put
why
it back in the
you're
snack.
not super into the?
Well, I'm
chomps?
dabbling into chomps. Actually, I'm dabbling. So it's like a slow. It's
Have
a
you tried
slow
the red?
burn. No, yeah, I like a good healthy one, like
Yeah.
meaning like one that's not
Like
expired.
clean, a new one.
A new one.
A
I've
new
got
one.
So I'm into them now.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
Yeah. No,
I
I'm
like
into
them.
them.
That with
Yeah,
the cheese
I
stick
co-sign.
is
Good little thing.
a good little chef's kiss.
Also, Simple Mills, MILLS.
Best ingredients.
They have such a great almond cracker. That is like a
Yes.
nice little afternoon snack.
Is
with
it the
a bite of a
rosemary
chomp.
ones?
No, just clean.
Oh, I
just
love
plain
the
salt.
rosemary.
Just
The
salt.
rosemary
I
are
love
good.
the rosemary.
The rosemary is good.
But y'all, a chomp with that cracker, it's just a nice little midday.
Oh, now I'm hungry.
So I got
It might be snack time.
It could be.
Yeah,
It
what
could
are they
be.
called whenever people like try different foods on their podcast? It's like
Oh,
called a
that's fun.
mukbang or something.
Oh.
And you just like order food from a ton of different places and you
fun.
just
Oh my
like
gosh.
try it.
That's
Teach
fun.
us. I don't even know. I love
So
it.
that's
But
episode
then I
4.
would get little indigestion while chatting.
I know,
So that
and
would
I
be-
can't imagine the sounds.
Oh yeah, the clinkety clink and the
no.
smells.
Yeah, maybe not.
But
Well, the girls.
the girls podcast. Okay, you guys, I'm really excited.
So excited.
We're gonna just have a conversation amongst friends,
Yes.
and we're gonna talk about a little hot button topic.
Okay.
We're gonna talk about mom guilt.
It's real.
It's a real thing.
so real.
So you don't have to be a mama to enjoy this conversation, but if you are a
true.
mama, this is especially for you.
Yeah.
It's a real thing.
Yeah.
Any mom pretty much deals with it, and in some shape, form, or fashion. It starts when you're pregnant,
Yeah, it does.
and so we're going to talk a little bit about mom guilt, and then
Yeah.
we're going to unpack it a little bit.
Yep.
We're talking about how to get free from it.
Here
we're
for
also
that.
going to tell stories when we felt it, how we got through it,
Yeah.
So good.
and how to avoid it so that it doesn't paralyze us to be the moms that God's called us to be.
So good.
And fun fact about 3 of us, we are all parenting in different stages. So
Yeah.
we're representing.
We really are. We do kind of cover all of
Yeah,
it.
we
It's
cover
true.
all.
It's
we
true.
cover
Yeah.
from all the way to 19
to 2.
to 2. Yeah. So no matter if you have a college sophomore or you have a 2-year-old or something in between,
Yep.
we feel like there's something, or you're expecting,
Yep.
or want to
Yeah.
have a baby one day. And here's the deal: guilt. It's a little bit of a thief. It is a lot of a
Yeah,
thief
it really
because
is.
even if
It
you're
is.
not a mom and you don't have mom guilt, you
Yep.
could have wife guilt, you could have employee guilt, boss
Yeah.
guilt.
It happens
guilt,
no matter what.
It does.
Exactly.
It
It
happens
does.
no matter what.
No one's
Exactly.
immune.
No.
So if you
No.
think you're immune, it's probably sneaking up on you. You
Yeah.
don't know.
Exactly.
Just- You
Exactly.
don't even know.
Exactly.
Just, yeah, just you wait.
Exactly.
Yep.
And why do you guys think, I'm just going to open
Yeah.
it up, because also I'm really excited to talk to both of these girls because they're both killer moms. And the
Coming
way
from
they
the best mom
love,
ever.
like
Yeah,
the
exactly.
way you both love your babies, serve them, sacrifice for them, make memories with them. You're both so present, so loving, so leaned in, so kind. Like, you guys could do TED Talks on motherhood.
Oh my gosh.
And I wanted to be flanked by you in this conversation because I love watching you both be moms because you do it so beautifully.
Same.
But you also do it with an ease and an effortlessness while also being real about the real realities of it.
It's so real.
So real.
It is so real.
But I feel like both of you, you lean, because I know you both really well, you lean in control. Because I'm the same way. Yes. And
Let's just talk about it. Let's just put it out
so-
there.
We love to have
Get
our
know
hands
us.
on the reins.
Yes. Yeah.
I like
So-
a plan.
Me too.
I like
and
to follow
lean
the
that.
plan.
I lean that same way. So
Yeah.
when you're have lean towards wanting to lead the way in all things at all times, motherhood can break you because you're not really in control. But I've watched you both surrender and allow God to be the one who's fully in control in your motherhood journeys. And I just want to talk about that because I feel like both of you have not lost yourselves. You spend so much time with your kids, but you also spend time with your husbands. You also are building your churches. You also are strong in your friendships. And you both still show up for people supernaturally, even though you like crush it as moms. So
Oh my gosh.
I just wanted to like
from the
start
best
off
mom
with
ever.
that introduction. But let's kind of unpack this and talk a little bit about how it even starts like before you bring the baby home.
Yeah.
And then we're going to talk about how to get out of the guilt cycle and just real life stories. So I just wanted to lay the foundation. Yeah. And motherhood it's so much fun. It's like the best
is
thing
so much fun.
and the hardest thing, but it's so incredible.
It is. It really is.
It's I just love watching my kids grow up and be all that God's
It's
called them to
everything.
be. But it's also challenging.
Yep.
And also it can humble you in a second.
Yep.
You can think you have your life together.
And then they throw down in Target.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Why is it always Target?
I don't know.
Always.
Why is it always Target?
I don't
I
even
think
know.
we're home goods.
I
for
will
me.
say before with like just to say what has helped is have a friend that will speak life, like all of that life that she just spoke into
my
us
gosh.
and like encouraging us.
your
Like
tank.
that is a major key for me of like having someone that not only does it well, but will speak out and call out the goodness that is on the inside of you.
Yep.
Even when you're having a hard day, when you know you're not really living your best mom life, but to have a friend that speaks life into you, like that's
Yep.
been a game changer for me. Like have
I
someone
agree.
that just can speak to it and you're like, oh wait, I am like that. Okay.
Right.
Let me
I
just
agree.
get into line with who I am.
I feel like you both set the temperature for me whenever it comes to being a mom. I'll never forget. I wanted to be a mom for over half a decade, tried to be a mom for over half a decade, walked through 4 miscarriages. So if that's you, your promise is coming.
Yes.
But I remember whenever I finally was pregnant, sitting in your living room and you both talking to me and talking about mom guilt and how there's going to be a million reasons in your mind to try and deflect from things that you know you're called to do because you just convince yourself that your child is suffering because of choices that you're making. It's so real. And I remember thinking, I love what I do and I know I'm called to do what I'm called to do. And so I can't imagine it not just like working out.
yeah.
And the level of spiritual warfare that comes against you as a mom whenever it comes to doing what you're called to do. And I'll never forget, you said in one of those conversations that God will never ask you to forsake one call for the other.
Yeah.
And that God will always grace you for what you're called to do. And so I feel like since the time I was pregnant, because I was like early pregnant at that time. And then right after that, even while I was pregnant, it was like, should I be eating this? Is my baby going to suffer if I do this?
Yeah.
Can I go like, play pickleball with my husband? Am I a bad mom for doing that? Am I putting my baby at risk? And that was like
Question
while I was
everything.
pregnant.
Yeah.
And then having a baby, you're like, is it bad for me to like go out with friends this night? Are people going to see on Instagram and think that I'm never with my kid because I didn't post them as much?
Yep.
This is like real thought processes. Like, do I
so
post them
true.
enough? Do I post them too much? Does it seem, you really can get so in your mind. And I go back all the time to say, what you're called to do, God will grace you to do it. And so it definitely starts early.
Yep.
And it doesn't really go away, I don't think. But that fight that you instilled in me has been something that is on repeat in my mind literally on a weekly basis. Like, I'm called to
So
do what I'm
good,
called to
Liv.
do, and
Yes.
God will
Yeah.
grace me to do it.
Yeah.
But
It's beautiful to see it in action. How do you guys, or what would you say to girls that don't leave the house because they're too guilty to leave their child?
I mean, this is again, when you were like, she's the OG, amazing, most amazing,
Truly.
grace-filled, caring, loving mom. loves them in the details, but also you release so beautifully. You do a really, really great job. I haven't got that down yet, but of the caring and being in the weeds, but then also, okay, you make your choices, okay, you do your thing. And I think that's kind of that muscle. It's like learning to like work out, learning to have a new muscle of like, just because I do this doesn't mean I can't do that.
Right.
So it's like I think it's in your book, the Give Me Also. It's like, it's just because you have one thing doesn't mean because you stay home, I can never do this other thing. Or because I do this other thing means I can never stay home.
Right.
You actually can do all the things that God has called you to do. But I think that's when it's like being in alignment with what God has called you to do. Like you were saying, Liv, if it's you're at home, your question was like, what if you're at home all the time? It's like, well, just because you're at home all the time doesn't mean that you can't move something forward. But I don't know, I don't want to step on any toes with this, but if it is, your whole world is only about you, you're teaching your kids their whole world is only about them. When it's like, we're about the kingdom, we're about people, we're about others. Like, I want to lay my life down for someone else. Like, just like God gave me life, I want to help someone else. And I think it's like understanding that and then walking in the freedom that really is, but it's hard. So, I mean, that's not like an equation of like, just feel it and just do it. If only it was that easy.
Right.
But I don't know if that answers your...
whenever I'm at my best, my child is at their best.
That part.
And whenever I'm going on dates with my husband, whenever I am having girls' nights with my friends, whenever I'm going to workout classes, whenever I'm staying late on a Sunday to connect with a new girl, whenever I'm doing any of those things, it fills my cup to overflow and I have a pure water to feed my daughter. That's what it feels like. Is the water is purified whenever I'm doing everything that God has called me to do. And I remember I'm just like basically regurgitating everything you've ever told me.
That's what I feel like.
Literally,
I'm just like, you taught me this.
Mom, all of it, me as a mom, it's just overflowing of what you've imparted me, even in the early days before I was even, pregnant. But I feel like what I impart to my child is, if it's from a place of wholeness and from a place of confidence and from a place of doing, it's all about obedience. And I want my daughter to see obedience modeled more than she sees obsession with her modeled. I want her to have a mom that's obedient to God's call. I want her to have a mom that is passionate about God's church. And so for me to just constantly be at home, constantly with her, I feel like your life preaches more significantly through what you do and not what you say. And so if I'm constantly, trying to tell her, build the church, God has an incredible call on your life. You're going to change the nations. People need your ministry. If I'm saying all of that to her and then I spend my life in my living room with her, she's like, what did you do? What was your call? Where were you going? And so I want to live a life I want her to watch me pour my life out.
And it to be
because I want her to pour her life out.
Not just taught. Just like actually seeing it. That's so good, Liv.
What do you feel, how do you feel like, because all of this, again, is just completely regurgitated from what you've taught me, but what do you feel like you've learned recently in this stage of being a mom? Because I will say, I feel like your sphere has grown more than ever. I feel like God is pouring something out over you and Pastor Earl that's new. There's nothing stale. There's nothing reused. And because of that, I can imagine that there's a new demand on you, specifically as a mom. What is God teaching you whenever it comes to pastoring and parenting in a realm that you've never been in before?
Wow, that's a great question. That's a really great question.
I'm genuinely curious and I've never asked you this.
That's a great question.
I was like, I've never heard this question. I'm here for this.
I think it's leaning into each moment. I'm not a counter because I feel like counting would paralyze me.
I love that about you.
So I'm not counting like, I was at the movies with Parker for this amount of hours, so now I need to do this with Elle, and now I need to do this with Grayson. I just try to be locked in the moment and allow God to place moments in front of me. So the other day, Parker wasn't home, Elle wasn't home, and so I said, hey, Grayson, do you want to watch like this random Disney show that I used to watch with Parker when Parker was his age? He was like, yes, let's do it. So we got snacks and we watched that together. I love that. And so Parker's in a season where his love language is like meal prepping because he's in his like fitness, weightlifting, bulk season. Bulk. So the way that I lean into him is like meal prepping for him and like making sure he has all of his supplies that he needs and just like interviewing him of like what fuels him. For Elle, it's making memories with her. She loves her dolls.
The cutest.
She loves dolls and real life dolls. Yeah. Like she loves both of your kids like her own.
She's so nurturing
it's so
too.
She's
so nurturing.
And so those moments with her, she also loves to be in the kitchen with me. And so I just, wherever I am, I'm like fully engaged. Yep. So I think sometimes what would mess me up is if I always thought about my calendar and then I tried to pit my calendar against my family. Yep. And so we're just a present family. Yep. Like we're really present with our kids. Yeah. But we're also present in our marriage. But we're also present in the lives of the people that flank us.
You are.
But then we're also present when we travel and speak. Yeah. And so it is possible, I think. Yep. This is the way I word it. Our kids know the compass of our heart. And so no matter if I'm in front of them or if I'm in another state, they know that my lean is Jesus, Earl, and them. No matter where I'm at, because that's literally where my compass is. And so they know that I'm not going through the motions. So if I'm with them, making memories, or if I'm in another city, or I'm at a pastoral care appointment, they know that we always have this saying like, my love for you, and then they say back, never changes. And so I think it's the way your heart is positioned, and the position of my heart is towards my family.
That's so
beautiful.
Good.
So I'm always with them, even if I'm not with them.
Beautiful.
And I don't count.
Yeah.
Because if I counted, it would exhaust me. Yeah. And I feel like as women, it's so easy for us to list out every single thing we have to do, which is good because we have a plan. Yeah. But if you list out everything, it will exhaust you. Yeah. And it will run you down.
And it can also make you a little bitter. Yes. And we're just like airing out all of our, we're just letting it all out. But I have found that I feel like the scales are not balanced between me and my husband whenever I'm hyper fixated on everything I'm doing. Right. When in reality, if he were to say all of the things that he's doing, we would be like, okay, we're both like really driving up this hill together. We have the same jerseys on. But I do feel like, to your point, to focus more on kingdom math of what your life is encompassing, who you're impacting, and where your heart lies, rather than saying, okay, I'm in charge of this and I'm in charge of this and I have to meet with this person and I have to go there. And I feel like the evidence in this working for you is your children being planted in the house. That's what I love about everything that you say. There's evidence of its testimony because your kids all love the house. They're so bright-eyed. They're so bright-eyed. In every single room that you walk into, you're so light and you're so there. Yeah. And so I also just want to back up everything you're saying with the evidence of your life is that this really does work. So I'm like, copy paste. Copy paste.
And I think too, I remember Ben and Casey Stokes. So for those of you who don't know Ben and Casey, they're pastors on the staff here, and they helped us plant the church, 12 years ago.
The goats.
And their kids have been on the journey with us from like when there was like no people till now, all that God's done. And I remember summers where their kids would spend their summers at church with all of us. They would bring their like activities and their coloring books and all the things. Yep. And on the outside looking in, you could judge Casey and Ben and go, why are their kids always at church? Yeah. Like, don't they have summer camp? Like, what's wrong with them? They're always here. Yep. But this is what I say. Show me when your child is 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, and then we'll talk. Yeah. Because
that part.
Then we'll talk.
It's true, though.
Because on the outside looking in, someone could have judged them. But now you have a conversation with her kids. Oh my gosh. They both are brilliant. They're stunning. They're natural leaders. Are they perfect? No, nobody's kids are perfect. My kids are not perfect. Y'all's kids are not perfect. No. But they stand tall. They love God. They're others oriented, and they're so respectful.
So good.
Because they were a part of a mission that was bigger than them. And I think no matter, and here's the thing, I don't want anyone to hear us saying like stay-at-home mom is better than working mom, or working mom is better than stay-at-home mom. Like all moms are amazing.
It's about calling.
It's about calling.
It's about your lane. Yeah,
it's
exactly.
About calling.
It's about calling. And because both are amazing. Like both are amazing. Yeah. And you have to lean to and needed what God's called you to do. Yeah. But you can still build from your living room. Like one of you said, like you can still be intentional. Yeah. You can still do lunches and coffees. You can still do pastoral care play dates. You can still build the kingdom no matter where you are, as long as you're a part of building something. Because our kids will see how we steward our lives. And it's our long way of saying, like, I love how you said, like, basically in short, if mom's good, then everybody else is good.
Yeah.
And that's like, I could get t-shirts made for that, because that is my mantra. Yeah. Because I think that we build up in our brains like, okay, this is how my birth plan has to be.
Yes. Okay, this.
Just let her cook on this. Yeah, let her cook on this. I get really worked up about this.
It's needed though.
If your birth plan changes for some reason, I feel like moms beat themselves up if you're failing. If you feel like you failed if it didn't go to plan.
I just thought of me on hour like 36 of contractions, and you messaging me being like, let's head to the hospital now. You, okay, good and faithful warrior, you're done now. But I was just like, this wasn't the plan. And you were like, yeah, I think it's time.
But
you were like suffering through.
It was like 2 days.
2 days, like on your bathroom floor. And I was like, we've won the crown.
Yeah, you got it.
You were like, let's on. And I was like, I literally showed up to the hospital and was ready to give birth. It was the right move. But I was just like, this wasn't the plan. And you were like, you need to be good.
Yeah.
Yes.
You need to be okay. And then that was the right move. So yeah.
But what is it about us that we think as moms, if we suffer, it's better?
I think it goes back to the guilt thing, because we have this guilt of like, the more suffering, the better we're doing. If this hurts, it is so good. And it's like, no, this isn't like, I heard somebody say this the other day, like your kid's childhood is your motherhood.
Wow.
Like it's not two different things. It's at the same time. And so you're not exchanging, like making their childhood amazing to make your motherhood not. Like it's actually both of those pieces together. But before any of those things, it's like you were saying at the beginning about the guilt piece. It's like, you can't do something because you're going to get something. It's not this equation like you were saying about like you're not counting things. It's like, because I think when you get into that mindset, you will end up feeling like you're doing so much more than your spouse. Or I gave you all these things, kids, and you don't like anything. You're miserable. And now I'm miserable. And it's like, oh, I guess I should have just been like staying in tune with what God wanted me to do instead of me trying to please like the little people around me, when really I need to please my Creator, have a great marriage, and then the overflow of those things being healthy are when the good things, other pieces come.
So good.
So.
And knowing that he's pleased already, I
Exactly.
think also brings me to a place of so much rest, and knowing that it doesn't have to look how it did for this one girl on Instagram.
Okay, so good.
I don't have to make everything from scratch. You know that girl that's like, she's so stunning.
Like, she's everything.
And she's called to do that. She is called to make
cereal
from
head
scratch.
to toe Chanel.
Yes, literally in head to toe Chanel.
the
She is
perfect
so
voice.
tall. So I saw her at the mall. She's like 6 feet tall.
Wow.
One of the most beautiful women I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
She's called to make cereal from scratch. That is not what I'm called to do. So I also think just being allowing yourself, everything from scratch.
I love that for her.
But
I love that journey for you.
Yeah, I love that journey for you. That's not my journey.
Right. Yes.
My journey is Simple Meals.
Yes.
And cheese sticks and chops.
Yes.
But I think
my journey is
bringing
Costco.
yourself, actually, you have the best Costco finds. You could start an Instagram of Costco finds.
Oh my gosh.
I was going to tell you that. But I think finding yourself in a place of rest and peace, knowing that God is pleased with you, knowing that He gives you everything that you need in order to pastor and parent.
Yep.
And I think every single person has a different goal. Like for some, they might be so hung up on breastfeeding. That's a real thing for so many moms. It's like, okay, I have to breastfeed for this long.
Yeah.
And you were so kind and released me in so many ways before I even had Holland, of saying, if you're good, she's good.
Yes.
Don't put a time on it. Let whatever happens happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I was so terrified to stop breastfeeding. Even whenever the time came, I was this is just like real. It's
real.
Yeah.
I was so scared to tell my friends. I was so scared to talk about it.
The guilt.
And then it was like 3 weeks after Holland was born, and I was like, it doesn't feel right for me. I want to be able to I want to go on dates.
Yes.
I want to be able to leave and go get my nails done, and it felt right for me.
Yes.
And I did it, and it was the best decision ever. And then I have best friends who breastfed for a year and a half.
Yeah.
And it was
amazing for them.
the sweetest moments that they had with their kids. And then, so I feel like releasing yourself
So good.
from the guilt, releasing yourself from the expectations, and knowing that Holy Spirit will speak to you. It's also, I feel like we could go for a mile on mothering with the Holy Spirit.
You have to have the Holy Spirit.
How do you
can't do it without. You can't do it without.
No.
And I call it spirit-led parenting.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I want to go back to the breastfeeding thing for a second.
I know I could say that.
Okay.
I ran into a mom. I'll never forget this. I ran into her in Target, and she had formula in her hand, and she had a newborn. And the look of guilt that she had, like if I think about it long enough, I'll start crying.
Yeah.
But it was almost, she looked like she was a criminal. Like the way she treated herself, because the way every woman's body is different.
Yep.
Yeah.
And some women's bodies produce like killer breast milk, where it's like the babies are fat and chunky.
I had a friend who could like
sleeping.
feed the nation.
Yeah, literally. It's just like,
feed the
it's like flowing and everything's working as it should, and baby's getting all the fuel. But sometimes physically it doesn't supply like that for every single person.
Yeah.
I know there's a way you can get milk from like neighboring refrigerators and friends and all things. There's always there's a way.
Yeah.
But for this woman, like her doctor said, you have to supplement with formula.
Yep.
And it crushed her, and she was embarrassed. She was embarrassed that she had to supplement.
Breaks my heart.
And I just locked eyes with her and I said, you already won. Like, you're taking care of a whole human.
Yep.
You already won.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's another thing that causes mom deep guilt and shame.
Yep.
Because their body's not working the way that their friend's body's
or
working.
their plan.
Yeah.
Or their plan.
Our plan of what we think should be happening when it's like you were saying, like spirit led of like, what is the timing for this and when to have the release? It's like just praying through that and having the peace and following the peace instead of our own like wants or dreams.
The Lord will lead you. Like if it's right for you,
Yeah.
He's going to lead you. He's going to supply you with everything that you need. But if for some reason something's happening physically or your baby has something where they can't like get all the nutrition from you, like whatever the thing is, because sometimes it works perfect and we celebrate that and we're like, you go.
Yeah.
And then other times you have to bring in other things to help supplement. But no matter what, the point we're saying is like, don't be guilty. Don't feel guilty about it.
Talk about
because
it.
your baby's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Your baby's actually going to be
They
fine.
always are. They always are.
We adopted our kids, 6 years old and 2 year old, and we also had an infertility journey for 10 years, believing for a baby. And then we adopted our little boy right after we were married 10 years. Perfect. He was born in February, and we celebrated 10 years that October before. And it was just such a miracle and amazing. But I will never forget at the hospital, Oneka was there the day he was born, and she looked at me. She was about to leave me, and she was like, "Okay, I'm going to tell you something." She's like, "I know everybody wants to give you advice." And I was like, "I'm ready. You give me every single advice. Like, tell me." She was like, "It comes in waves. He cries, he's going to stop crying. He's sick, he won't be sick forever. He's hungry, you're going to feed him, and it's going to be okay.
You will sleep again.
You're going to sleep again." And I remember her telling me that, and it has helped me so much of like the waves thing, because even the guilt of like the mom guilt thing, it can come in waves. And if you realize, like, you know what? This is going to be over. I'm not going to stay on this wave of guilt. I'm coming back down. Like, I'm not letting this become my identity that I'm not enough or I'm not doing enough or this person does so much more. Like, they're cooking like this and they're feeding their kids like this and their kids sleep like this and they dress like this.
They have better breast milk than me.
All the things. It's like, it's like, I just can't, I can't stay on that wave. I can't stay on that wave. It's like, I got to get back down because it's like, and it is a wave, but so often we can stay on it so long that we just get to this place and we just stay right here when really we need to realize we should get back down off of that thing, because that guilt is not where we're.
If obedience is the mission, then I feel like guilt is just causing you to have delayed obedience or reluctant obedience.
Exactly.
And that's kind of convicting. If I put myself in the position of, okay, my number one mission is to be obedient to God's call.
Good. Yeah.
Even before what I think is right for my kids, even before any of that, if my mission is obedience, then even sitting in guilt, that's causing reluctant obedience or delayed obedience. And so then I'm like, shoot, then I'm actually laying down the call in order to do what I think my friends might think is right, or Instagram is telling me is right, or all the things.
TikTok
and so if
doctor.
your mission is obedience and quick obedience, then you can let it be confident obedience.
Exactly.
And so you're like, nope, I feel like this is the mission. I'll never forget, Holland was super sick. She had like 102-degree fever. It was probably a year ago. And we had this really big dinner for Jansen's like business. And he was so excited about it. And I remember thinking, I feel like the Holy Spirit is telling me to still go. I think she's going to be okay. She had a high fever, but I really felt like I was still supposed to go. So we laid hands on her. We left her in the care of my mom, which is like the best care that you could ever possibly be in. And we left and we went to dinner, and I said, she'll call me if something's wrong, but her fever is going to go down. She's fine. We had the best time ever. It was still one of our favorite nights. I still look back on all of the photos. I came back, her fever had gone down, and she went to sleep. And I'll never forget going to sleep thinking I could have just been like, well, I can't go because my kid's sick. But I really felt like the Holy Spirit said, she's mine, not yours. She's mine first.
Major
Your
key.
child is in my hands. Trust me with her. Go have a great time. Make this memory. Free yourself from the guilt. Free yourself from the shame. And I did. I still think about it all the time. I wore this really cute dress, and we loved it. Saw the cutest photos. So I think
dress.
I was like, I think I remember the black dress. I was like, I think I remember this moment.
JCG dinner. And Holland was homesick, but I went and I had the best time, and she was fine. So it's like just freeing yourself from that.
And I don't feel like we talk about those kinds of stories as moms very often.
We don't.
And I think it's easier to become like the sacrificial lamb for your family. And wear the badge of honor that you do everything.
The badge of honor,
talk
about
you
it.
do every single thing. You're always the one who shows up. You never leave your kid's side, and you find your badge of honor in that instead of your badge of honor realizing that like you can't do this without Christ. You can't do this without community. But we put it all on ourselves. And I feel like anytime as moms we try to do everything ourselves, you still end up feeling guilty because it's a bottomless pit.
And
Where's
you're
the
so
joy?
exhausted.
And
Where's
you're-
the
and
joy?
No joy. I was
And
gonna say
you
you have
have
no
so
joy.
much, and you
Yeah.
have so much anxiety.
And then your kids
Yeah.
are miserable. They're like,
because
Mom's
you're
mad
like
again.
a zombie. You're
Yeah.
like a zombie,
It's
but
so
you're like,
true.
what I'm doing, I have to do everything.
I have to do everything.
And then you get crazy eyes.
Yep.
And
That's so
no,
real.
you
I've
get
had
the,
them.
No,
I've had
we've
them.
all
I've
had
had
them.
them.
We've
I've had
all
them.
had the crazy eyes.
Yep.
But this is what I tell new moms all the time. And then I tell myself this as well. Put your hand up, ask for help.
Yeah.
When you have a baby, lean on your community.
Yep.
If someone offers to come over to hold
Let
your baby
them.
so you can shower,
Yep.
let them.
Let them.
If someone offers to buy you groceries,
Let them.
tell them your
Yeah.
dietary needs, let them.
Yes.
If your husband wants to help change the diaper, even though he changes it differently than you, let him.
That's another one. I'm like, let's just not correct the things that they do. Let's let them figure it out, just like you figured it out. I feel like that
Yeah,
has been
that's
something
really
that's been
good,
great
Liv.
in my marriage is
So
I don't
good.
make any edits because I got it wrong and then I figured
Right,
it out and then
right.
maybe he finds a better way.
Yes.
I remember you guys telling me that in our
For sure.
mom talk and it's been game changer.
Yes.
Just let them figure it out. They got it.
And I think too, we forget about our husbands as moms sometimes because our kids have louder cries. And we make the
That's
kids,
so good.
we get married to the kids instead of married to our spouse.
Talk about it.
And then
We're really going there.
we're going there.
We're going in.
We're going there.
Yes,
Yeah,
we are.
yeah, we're going there.
Unhinged edition.
Yes,
It is
yes,
unhinged,
yes,
yes.
unhinged, unfiltered.
Yep.
And it's so easy. I talk to moms all the time, and they say like, "How can I be a good mom? How can I be present for my kids?" And I'm like, "Be a good wife."
Yeah.
For those of you that are married,
Yep.
Because if your kids see a safe home.
Yep.
Where for those of you who are married, single moms, that's another story for another
You
day.
got this,
You're
girl.
rock stars.
You really are.
You're rock
Truly.
stars. You're anointed.
Yeah.
You're called. My
Yep.
mom was a single mom.
My mom's a single mom.
And they crushed it.
Unreal.
And so you got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah.
And let your church family surround you.
Yeah.
But for those of us who are married, it's so easy to forget your husband. I
so
remember
good.
before I had kids, you're an expert before you have kids. So before I had
You're the
kids,
perfect, what does it say? You're the perfect parent until you're a parent.
Yeah.
exactly.
Literally. Yeah.
So before I had kids, this was me. I was that mom that was like, I'm never going to let my child fall asleep in a swing. That's called a sleep prop. And my children will have.
You knew the actual word. That is what they're called.
They will have no such sleep props.
Oh.
My kid will not fall asleep in a swing. We won't be that family that drives around in the car till our child falls asleep. And then I worked at a clothing store on the side. And so these moms would come in, new moms would come in, and they all would have the same story. I haven't been out in forever. I have nothing to wear. And I'm going on my first date with my husband. It's been forever. And I have no clothes to wear. And I'm so scared to leave my baby. And I remember I'd go home from work and I'd tell Earl, I met these moms. And like none of them ever want to leave their kids. And they never have anything to wear. And they're just so sad. And like when I have a daughter or a son, I'm still going to go on date nights. I'm not going to lose myself. I see women all the time that just lose themselves. And that's not going to be me. No sleep props.
You don't even know yourself. There's a new yourself.
Listen,
It's
you
like,
don't even listen. So it's time for Earl and I to go on our first date. Who's the one sobbing?
what do I wear?
Yeah, what do I wear? And I can't leave.
can't
Will
leave
he?
him.
Will
Can't
he
leave.
be okay? And
scary.
it's really scary
It's
at first.
terrifying.
And we were gone for an hour, but it felt like an eternity.
Yep.
But I think that's where the seed is planted that we believe the lie that if we're not there for every single moment of every single day,
Yep.
Then we're failing.
Then we're failing.
Yeah.
Then we feel guilty.
Yep.
But it's actually the aunties and the uncles of this church that have helped me raise my kids.
Truly.
Because
Yeah.
your kids get to an age in life where they don't want to just hear from you.
Yeah.
They lean on people that are younger than them.
Yeah.
Not are younger than them, but are closer in age.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful that
Yeah.
my kids have been surrounded by aunties and uncles that helped amplify
Same.
our
Yeah.
voice in their
Same.
lives. And so it's actually good that I've left them in the care of my kids.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's a gift.
Because now
It is a gift,
those
yeah.
people like you, like when Parker was 1, Jessica like looked out for him. She would come over
my
to our
angel.
house. She was
And
like
he's a
19 or
grown man
20.
now.
Were you
Yeah.
20?
I think 20.
Yeah, she was 20 years
20.
old.
Oh my gosh.
Parker was 1. I worked at the time 2 days a week.
Yeah.
And she would come to my house 2 days a week and keep Parker.
And it was just.
And I just, here's the thing, y'all, and then y'all talk because I'm talking so much.
No,
but I'm
this is
so
gold.
we need to
passionate
hear.
This is
We got to
gold.
hear about
about
this.
motherhood. But here's the deal. I think about this. So I worked 2 days a week at the time. And so Jessica would keep him and they would like go to the park and do all these activities. She'd drop him off at Mom's Day Out and she would make photo albums for us. She would we had all these rolls of film back then because that was the thing.
Which
and
I
she
miss.
would
I
I
wanna do that
know.
more.
And they would go walk to the store, develop
Walgreens.
them, all the things.
Wait, I love
It
that.
was so cute. I'd come home, my whole house was rearranged. She'd move around all my furniture. And because she just loves
and I was like, I'm gonna Lysol this floor. I'm gonna clean this floor and do some crazy things.
What a gift.
Yeah, no, it was such a gift.
Just do crazy things.
But here's the thing, y'all. I'm in like getting someplace with this story. So Jessica was 19, 20. Parker was 1. I was going to the office 2 days a week. And now fast forward, Parker is now 19. So Parker is the age that Jessica was when she started helping us with him.
Makes me emotional.
I cannot believe that.
And now I got to see, number one, I got to mentor you in the early days and like pour into you and like speak life into you. Yes. I got to introduce her to her husband.
Yeah.
I got to be there when her husband was called to take over a church in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
All the life moments.
And got to have all the heart-to-hearts all along. They have been so present in Parker's life. So now fast forward all these years later, they pastor a church. You know this, but people don't know this. In Tulsa, Oklahoma. Parker's now going into his sophomore year of college. Guess what house he goes over all the time for dinner? Guess what family prays for him?
It's home.
Guess what church he goes to? Guess whose basketball games of whose son he now goes to and sits on the bench and cheers on her son. So I think if I thought I can't leave Parker with Jessica when he was, 1 year old. And if I would have felt guilty of like, I'm not supposed to flank my husband in ministry and I wouldn't have left for those 2 days a week, he wouldn't now have this home a home away from home in college that puts my mind at ease. And now he's like helping build their church in Tulsa because of a yes that I said all those years ago.
That's wild.
And so who knew by me placing him in her hands for those 2 days a week that then we would have peace of mind on the college that our son now goes to because he goes to college in the same city.
Think about that.
And so I just think there's always so much more in our release. Good. And now he is an aunt and uncle, and Parker went through like all teenagers go through a crazy season where his eyes weren't right.
Yeah.
And I remember Ben going, Parker's eyes aren't right. I'm going to get in there. But it takes uncles who you allow your family to be open to help you on this parenting journey.
Yeah.
You can't parent alone.
No. I love that story too because it didn't just unlock something in Parker for his future. It unlocked something in you too. And I feel like all of this is a testament to the releasing of your child is not just for their good, it's for yours too.
So true.
We need to be freed from the weight of it because I feel
we were
like
never supposed to carry it.
The fear is just there's more opportunities the older they get, I'm told.
I'm told.
Be afraid.
I know. I was like,
be afraid as a mom, I'm like, it's scary.
Wait till they're driving.
No, I can't.
Wait till they're dating.
No. Holland will like walk on some like ledge and I'm like,
I know.
And so I feel like the fear, you have an opportunity for it to just be amplified the older that they get. And so I love this testament to releasing early.
Yes.
Will empower you to release when they're 19 and when they're in college. And when, so I love that it's not just a gift to your children to be releasing. It's a gift to you too.
Exactly.
So it helps me to keep releasing.
Yes.
That's so true.
It's so hard.
Will you talk through, I remember early you said like in hindsight that you felt like you might have protected Watson's life a little more than you wanted to in the early days. Yeah. And how we're just going there. Yeah. Can you just talk about that? Because I think we try to like create the perfect.
Curate everything.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe it's just my personality. Maybe it's because we prayed and waited so long.
That's good.
I don't know what it was. Maybe just my controllingness. We can talk about that another time. But I do know that for his first 4 years of his life, I controlled pretty much anything he was doing. Like I made sure he would have the perfect little euphoric moment of his day, balancing this, balancing that. Releasing him to have people help me, of course, but also throughout that, not giving him a lot of room to make mistakes, not giving him a lot of room to have to be uncomfortable, because I was like, why would I want my kid to be uncomfortable? Why would I want him to be in environments that he wouldn't feel confident in? And what we've walked through now, which thankfully we've walked through it, but our first year going to school was so hard because he's only ever been in environments when he was 100% comfortable. And he was the person everybody else knew him. And I remember telling Ben and I've talked to Earl and Oneka, and it's we made his life too perfect almost to where.
Can you talk on that?
Because
just
so
we
good.
have a generation of parents that we're trying to do everything.
Gentle parenting.
I know.
Yeah.
And I'm I don't have it down. I mean, we have another one coming up. We've got a 2-year-old and I'm trying to release, and I'm trying to just let her make mistakes and let her climb on the steps and let her do things that are normally when I thought I was releasing. I thought I didn't have guilt. I thought I was doing all these things. But then once I actually see the world I've built for my son, I think there were times, a lot of times when I built his world for me
This is so
instead
good.
of for him,
So good.
and like really what like God would
Lord.
want for him to have. And so it's
Wow.
like I built it from my comfort. I built it from my control, from my little eyes to see and to be able to control everything, when really I should have been releasing him, when really I should have given him more opportunities to be uncomfortable and to have awkward moments and me not just rescue him, because I'm like, oh, who would want to, why would you not want your kid to be rescued? Why would you not want to take care of everything? Well, of course you want to take care of everything.
Right.
But God allows us to be in situations. So
Yeah.
why am I better than God to how I'm going to control my son's environment or his friends or his things? And it took pain to teach me that on the other side, because I had to see Watson had been really more alone, not with a lot of kids, because I was like, oh, this will be better for him for his nap schedule.
Oh, talk about
Oh,
it.
the nap
I was
schedule.
like, this is what he needs. He needs this for his nap schedule. When really he probably needed to be around more kids. And he probably needed to do a little bit more things that would kind of rock the boat of his life.
Wow.
And I actually remember even, this is just, and I remember you helped me through this, but I was like, he wasn't talking. And he was like 16 months old or 18 months old, whatever it was. And he wasn't saying enough words. For me. And so
I was going to say, which is so normal.
It's so normal.
yes,
but I
yes,
remember
yes.
telling, and she was like, Jess, he's going to talk. And I was like, well, I think I'm going to put him in speech therapy, which is totally great. You should do whatever
out
the
to speech
piece.
therapists.
She was amazing. But I remember being like, okay, if that brings you peace, you should do it. You should do that. And I was like, okay, it does. It brings me peace. It brings me a lot of peace. I'm going to do this 2 times a week and we're going to do this. And I remember the speech therapist even telling us, I just remembered this just now, her telling us, he doesn't want to make mistakes. And so he isn't saying what he maybe wants to say because I can see he wants it to be just right for him. And I was thinking like, of course we have a natural lean in our personalities, but I don't think I helped that in his early years because I also wanted everything just to be so right for him, because I had waited and begged and like pleaded God for a baby for so long. So why would I not make it so perfect?
Wow.
When really it is in us just giving our best is perfect, because that's the purity of heart.
Yep.
It's not
So
in
good,
us
Jess.
like curating every little thing like, like this. Oh no, it should be like this. When it's really like, no, what it is good, whether it's
so
this
good.
way or this way. It doesn't change that this
good.
book is good.
That's
this
really
is good. This is right. But to our own brains, we have this certain way of like things need to be. And it's been a journey for me. And I think
that's powerful.
but it was like, I remember her saying like, no, he does, you can do it. You're not going to make anything wrong by putting him in speech or doing this thing or whatever the thing is. It's not going to mess something up, but also it's also okay to release.
Yeah,
right.
And it's also okay just to trust a little bit, because your doctor isn't really saying this, but this is what you want.
Yeah.
So,
I love that you say all of that with no guilt, though. I think it's so inspiring that you could have a revelation like that and be like, oh, yep, would have done it differently, but still from the posture of God has him. You know, there's no mistake that is irrefutable. You know, God, there's nothing that God can't cover.
Yeah.
So I feel like that also speaks to what we're talking about, which is that you can have a revelation and say, oh, wow, okay, I really would have done that differently, and then still release yourself from the guilt. Because you say that so confidently. You say that so, you know, like, oh, I would have done that differently. And then you make an edit and you keep parenting, and that's so inspiring to me.
If we all would say we want the best for our kids,
Of course.
we want the best for our kids. You
Always.
want Holland to have everything. You want Parker,
Yes.
Grayson, and Elle. I want Watson and Piper just to have no ceilings on their life.
Yeah.
But it isn't me that's actually. And we really look at it, you aren't the one that's in control of that.
Yep.
So it's the release, and like you were saying with Holland at the beginning, like it's releasing it and trusting at the very beginning, the 3 weeks in. Before you gave birth, releasing, I'm not actually in control of this.
Yep.
We're not.
And it's this false like lie of like our life that we are, which I think when we live in that is when we start the counting, like you were saying, is when the guilt starts to pile on, when the things start coming that really are not from God.
Yep.
He never made us to hold those things.
Exactly.
He never wanted us to have that guilt. He never wanted us to have that shame or that like pressure of perfection or like you have to do it like this and feed them like this
good.
and sleep them like this and don't you dare lay them on their stomach. Don't you dare lay them on their back. Don't you put them on their side.
Did you
Don't
hear what they said about that certain
what
crib?
about the dog
bumpers,
Don't do
no
that
stuffed
thing. You know,
animals,
whatever it is.
Good, is dog bad. Yeah.
You can't have that kind of monitor. Like I'm like, oh my gosh. I'm like, there were so many things.
No, there's so many
I still
things.
get DMs from people. They're like, she shouldn't be drinking that. I was like, she has like a protein drink the other day. And
How
I was
about
like,
the people with the opinions?
No.
How about one time when I was a young
we
mom?
should talk about this just to get some freedom. Let's get
I
some
don't know.
freedom in your
This
life.
could
Because
pull
you're
out
not the only one getting the DMs.
This is like, I've been so
I was
burned.
doing my best, like at the mall with Parker.
She did what she could.
I was doing what
she
I
could.
could, and I was trying to keep him chill because I had some errands to run.
Yeah.
And he was chewing French fries or something, but then he was like gnawing on the container that like the chicken nugget came in. And I was in the like dressing room, like bathroom. You know how bathrooms they sometimes have in a department store those like
a little landing area.
It's like a little landing area
like a
inside.
chair.
Like sometimes moms feed there, other times you just catch your breath. So I was in there just like resetting Parker, and he was gnawing on something, and I was like, he was probably teething, and it was keeping him content.
Yeah.
And this woman who does not know me. Why do we give unsolicited parenting advice to strangers?
Just PSA. We should talk about this.
When moms are doing their best.
Just compliment them, encourage them.
If you see something, you don't have to say something.
I was proud of myself for having a mall outing with him. We were winning because he was content.
And not like, look at you go, girl. Great job, Mom.
No.
Uh-oh.
This is what she said to me.
Oh, no.
She goes, do better, Mom.
No.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Those words to this day still like haunt me. She was like, do better. And just with disdain. She gave me this look of disdain.
That's so unkind.
Exactly.
I don't. I'm just going to be honest. I don't know if I couldn't not check it.
Right.
If someone said that to me.
No,
like something.
I'll never forget someone saying something to you about your kids in a restaurant. It was like a few months ago.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
More than you said.
We got up to leave. Piper had screamed a couple times, not like screaming like mean. She was just going like, wow.
Yeah,
Which
who
doesn't love that?
She was actually happy. She
Also,
wasn't upset.
you weren't in like a Papa's Brothers steakhouse.
Right.
No, we were in a little Mexican hole-in-the-wall restaurant in Tulsa.
Who doesn't love to hear
And
that?
as we left, this group of people, this woman particularly started clapping as we left and said, finally, get that kid out of here. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
That was my moment to stand up and have
moment
that
to
moment.
shine.
And I just turned around and I was holding her and I just looked at every single one of the women in the eyes and I said, gosh, I was like, I know maybe it's been a minute for some of you since you've had a little one. I'm just out here on these mom streets with the 2-year-old. I'm doing the best I can. We just wanted to go out to eat tonight. And I just want to say to some of you, thank you for the grace.
That's good.
And to you, I hope your daughter never encounters someone that treats them like you just treated us in this restaurant. Because it breaks my heart that someone that you love could be treated like that.
Yes.
I have mom chills.
And I was like, fired up.
Yes.
And Vin's standing at the door looking at me, and we walked out, and he goes, why did you have to say something? I was like, I did it for Piper.
Yeah, you did. Because also she was having fun.
I did it for the other girls that are in that restaurant. I was like, I could not
Exactly.
say, I was very kind to her, but I also was like, you can't do that to someone.
No. It's
Do
just,
better, clapping
Yes.
when someone leaves. I'm like, no.
Yeah,
it's
I've
not.
gotten
No.
DMs because Holland's car seat needs to go further up on her
Same.
chest,
No.
and then
Yeah.
someone I don't know sends me articles about the dangers of the thing
No.
on the car seat, and I'm like, I
We're
got
not
her in
gonna
her
be
car
those
seat by
people.
myself.
People have
I-
asked,
you
like,
know,
how much does she weigh? How should she be sitting? Her sweater's too thick. I'm like, I can't keep up
I know.
with
Don't
them.
put a coat in the
No.
car seat.
I know.
Yeah,
No,
there's
no,
lots
it's
of
too much.
rules. So release yourself,
Yeah.
moms. Release yourself.
Release yourself.
Good.
You're parenting with Jesus.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're not parenting to please every single person. And I
No.
think if you're a people pleaser by nature, then you make mom decisions
Yeah.
based on what everyone's going to think.
Yeah.
Yep.
So everyone needs to think that I like going to the zoo, but you
Yeah.
hate going to the zoo, but you just post that you're at the zoo because you want everybody to
Stop
think.
hiding the formula. That's
Exactly.
the moral
It's
of this
okay.
whole
Yeah,
story.
it's
Stop
okay.
hiding the
Yeah, it's
formula.
okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
I
It's
agree.
like you be the mom that God's called you to be,
Yeah.
but also have other people in your life that can tell you if you have crazy eyes
Beautiful.
and get help.
You've told me.
That's
You've told
major
me.
key.
Yeah.
You told me. I remember one point in a season in our life, I was going to the zoo all the time.
Yes.
Speaking of zoo.
I wasn't going to say
Speaking
he
of
was
zoo.
going to the zoo.
Speaking of zoo.
I wasn't
Random.
going to say he was going to the zoo.
I was going to the
wasn't
zoo
going to be
all the
naming
time
names.
because I thought
Tulsa
this
Zoo
is
epic?
what.
Is it awesome?
No.
okay.
Yeah,
I don't
wasn't
even
gonna name names,
no.
but you go there.
And
Vulnerable
she was
moment,
like, "Hey,"
vulnerable moment.
she's like, "Hey, like I noticed you've been going to the zoo like 3 times a week."
I can picture your voice saying that too.
She's like, "Hey," and I had zoo outfits.
Yes.
I had like a zebra printed
was a
dress I
whole-
wore. I
it was
had
a
like
whole zoo
neutral.
season.
Watson
You were
had
in your
little
zoo
smocked
era. She
outfits. I
was.
guess so. And I just had Watson at the time, and I remember being like, "Oh yeah, like we love it." And she's like, "Oh, you love it?" I was like, "Well." It is
Do you
kind of
really?
It's kind of hot, but but he
stinky.
loves it, and
Right.
I remember her being like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, I was just wondering, like, what do you feel about? Like, she just started asking me, interviewing me, not shaming me,
Right.
not saying it was wrong. Because you
good.
should go to the zoo 3 times a week if that's what you want to do.
Yes,
you should
yes,
100% do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
But she
Kids love
knows me
animals.
better
Yeah.
than that.
Yeah.
She's known me for 20 years. She knew the zoo wasn't my identity as a mom, but it
right,
was something
right.
I was trying to put on
Yeah.
because I thought that's what I needed to do to be the mom
Yeah.
that I'm supposed to be. When really what I needed to do was to get up, get my son taken care of by someone and build the church.
Yeah.
That was what I was called to do.
Wow.
And you woke me up from that because I had been sleeping in it because I was like, oh no, these people don't need me. Who really needs me is Watson. Ben doesn't need me. He can do this. Who really needs me is Watson. And for sure, Watson needed me.
Yes,
He needed
yes,
me.
yes.
But to go back what you said, he needs me at my best self,
Yep.
not myself of pleasing
Not your
what
zoo
he
self.
thinks. Not my
Wow.
zoo self. I just let
Not
that
your
zoo
zoo
self
self.
go.
Yes, let it go.
And
That's the
we
word.
haven't gone to the zoo this year. But
You
honestly, it's so hot.
It is really hot.
Who really wants to do that?
No, I imagine maybe a little stinky.
I'm
this
more of
time
an
year, too.
aquarium or like a library type.
Right.
Inside.
Yeah.
That's why I love that he played basketball.
Oh, yeah, 'cause it's
instead
inside.
of it's inside. I like inside.
We love the
sports.
air conditioning.
We do
Yeah, I
love
do.
AC.
Yeah.
But it's real. It's so real. I think we have a generation of moms that are lost in the type of mom that they think they're supposed to be instead of the mom that they're called to be.
Oh,
And-
that's so good. Well, how do you? I would say then, just to tag off of that, how do you know the mom you're called to be?
Yeah.
How did you find that?
Well, I think first and foremost, we have to ask God, like, am I doing this for me? I mean, are we doing this because you've called me to do it? Or am I doing it because I care what other people think, first and foremost? Then you have to ask your spouse or a trusted friend,
Yep.
do I have crazy eyes? Do I seem like myself?
Yeah, that's good. Great filters. Great filters.
Am I giving postpartum undiagnosed?
So you have
Do
to
I-
be open to
be open.
be coached and
do I need
shown a
counseling
different
in
side.
this season? Do I need to change
Yes.
up my flow? Is
Yep,
there
so
something in
good.
my mom rhythm that is negatively
Yeah.
impacting my family?
Yeah.
But I
good,
think
Em.
I'm doing all
That's
the
good.
things right because I'm like tap dancing and checking all the boxes. So you have to also
You're
trust
zooing 3
people.
times a week.
You're doing 3 times a
Yeah,
week.
that's
And so
real.
you have to have trusted people who
Yeah,
you can
that's
go
good.
to ask, am I
filter
okay?
you.
Do I
That's
seem
good.
okay? Do I seem like myself? Have I lost myself?
Yeah. That's good.
Have I neglected my husband?
Yeah.
When's the last time I had sex with my husband?
Let's talk about it.
We're
putting
talking
it
about
out there.
everything.
We're
Let's do
putting it
this.
out there.
Let's do this.
Because I've done
That's
the
good.
past of like, well, I'm a new mom. I don't have time. The baby takes everything from me. I have nothing to give my husband. My husband understands.
Yeah.
He's good. He's
But
good
if when we're at our best, our kids are at our best. Dad at his best is probably the best dad to his kids too, and
Yep.
dads at their best are dads who are having sex.
It's true.
It's just is what it is.
It's true. It's true.
It just is
Yeah,
what it
it's
is.
true.
So
It's
it's like
true.
It's
so
true.
if you play a key role in their
Providing
well-being
that,
whenever
yeah.
it comes to being a really great dad,
Yes.
and yeah,
And all the dads said amen.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's the thing too.
You heard it here. You heard it here, guys.
First.
Yeah.
You're first.
You heard it.
Yeah. Because I see dads after their wives have kids and
Sad
after
eyes.
You know.
after the moms have the free pass. You know, you get the doctor tells
Yeah.
you when everything can be
Yeah.
the store can be opened
Selah.
again. And everyone has their
Yeah.
own version because
Yeah.
you're finding your rhythm again
Yeah.
and all
Yeah.
the things. But however you lock into your husband in some shape, form, or fashion, even if the store is closed,
Lock it in.
we can't forget about our husbands.
Yeah.
And I think from the time they're firstborn till the time they're leaving for college,
Yeah.
there's no season where we can't forget about our husbands because when
Yeah.
we do, it then impacts our marriage.
Yeah.
Then when it impacts our marriage, it then ultimately impacts our kids.
Yep.
And
That's good.
so that
so
that's
good.
a whole nother episode.
That
Yeah,
is,
I was
the
gonna say, I
husbands,
could
the
go an hour
husbands is
on that
like
one.
a
the husbands is
whole
a
thing.
whole nother, it's
No,
a
it
whole
is.
thing.
But
it is.
I think with that,
nights.
if you have, like you were saying about community,
Yep.
when you have people in your
Yeah.
life, and again, this is something you taught me, having people in your life that have lives that you would want your life to look like,
That's-
marriages around you that are strong, marriages around you that you admire,
Yeah.
people around you that you respect. That doesn't mean everyone around you, none of us have it all together. Nobody.
Yep.
Right.
But people that have a lot of big rocks that you're like, those are the big rocks I would want to have in my life too.
Yep.
And I think it's that comes back to that community piece, like you were saying, the filter.
Yes.
Because then you're able to see, like, oh, like Chance and Olivia, they go on date nights. Maybe I could go on a
do
date
love a
night.
date night.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
And you see
Yes.
that at other people, and it isn't a competition.
Exactly.
It's actually
No,
an
and not
encouragement.
comparison.
No,
Yeah.
but it's
No,
actually an
that's
encouragement
important.
of like,
That's important.
wait, she did that? I love that journey for her. I think I want that journey for me. So I'm going to try to get
It
some
makes a
date
difference.
nights.
And when you go on your date, don't talk about your kids.
So good.
That's rule. That's our
be,
biggest
be
rule.
a girlfriend.
That's our biggest
Yes,
rule.
that's
is
so
we don't
good.
talk about kids on our
Yep.
date nights. Yep.
Yeah.
One thing that I feel like we've gone and gone, and we could probably go
have.
for 2 more hours.
I
But
know.
I will just say one thing that I love about you that I don't know if I've ever said this to you, but it's something that has so profoundly impacted me is that before any of your roles, before even you're a wife, before you're a mom, before you're a pastor, before you're a friend, you're a daughter. And your daughterhood, your love for Jesus and your dependency on Jesus
Yeah.
and him as your father, which we could go into that even as, you had to fight to have eyes to see of who you wanted your father to be and, your belief
Yes.
in God, the Heavenly Father.
Yes.
But you doing that, you fighting to see him as father
Yeah.
and as protector and as coverer and as healer, you as a daughter has, I think, made the biggest difference whenever it comes to being a mother who can
so
release
good.
and a wife who can pour out and a pastor who can lead, because you always go back to that place of being a daughter whenever it comes to all of
Yeah.
it, when you're scared, whenever
that's your
Parker's
base.
in an accident.
Yes.
That's-
We're going there.
We're going there,
But when
yeah.
we go there, you're so quickly a daughter. You remind
Yes.
yourself, that God has him, that God has you.
Yeah.
Whenever, Nana's in the hospital.
real
You're
talk.
so quickly a daughter. And so watching that has impacted me so deeply as a mom because I have to remember that I am a mom and I am a wife, but I'm still a little girl.
good.
You know, I still have a heavenly father and he
good.
still loves me.
That's good,
And so
Liv.
that's something I've never told you, but I see it in everything you do.
100%.
I literally see it in
Agreed.
everything you do is how quickly you resume being a daughter whenever it's so easy to just be like, I'm a mom and that's my identity, or I'm
Yeah.
a wife and that's my identity.
Yep.
I love your daughterhood. I love who you are as a daughter.
so
And
good.
it's just, I think, one of the biggest markers of why you're such an incredible mom and wife and friend and pastor and writer and all the things.
All the things. That's so good.
But we found a scripture too.
Yes.
Yes.
Did you want to read it? Because I just love your voice.
Love you. We're going to read this scripture because we've been praying for you.
Yeah.
And we're praying that this conversation, that maybe you laughed a little bit, maybe you cried a little bit,
Yeah.
but that this is your like guilt-free era, that you're having
So
a
good.
reset in your season of motherhood, that no matter you're a stay-at-home mom or a working mom, you know that you're winning as a mom,
Yep.
not because of performance or an Oscar that you received for being a mom, but because, like Liv said, you're God's daughter and his grace is sufficient. And so we're praying that this conversation helps shatter perfectionism. Do you need to
So
be
good.
So good.
PTA president? Sure, if that's what you want to do. Do you need to hire someone to do your kid's science project because you don't like crafts? Sure.
Do it.
Do that. Like
good.
whatever you love to do. If you love the zoo, go to the zoo.
Yeah.
But if you love AC indoors, do that. Like you don't have to be the mom that somebody else is being.
Yep.
You be
So
the mom
good.
that God's called you to be.
good.
So
But
good.
don't walk in shame.
Yep.
Don't walk in guilt.
Amen.
Don't walk in comparison. Let your Heavenly Father flank you. Like we started this conversation, my oldest is 19. And this level of surrender you have to continue to give as your kids get older, it's bananas. But we're parenting along with the Holy Spirit who's leading us and guiding us. And we just want to read this scripture over you. It's Psalm 51:2. And it says, wash me clean from my guilt. Purify me from my sin. And we're praying today that your guilt is washed clean
wash it
from
clean,
you,
Lord.
Amen. In
that
Jesus'
your
name.
mind is renewed,
Yep.
that you're strengthened, that you're encouraged, that if you're not involved in a healthy church, get involved into a healthy church, join a mom's group, and find a gang of moms who are like living for God's glory, who love their kids, but also have a life outside of their kids, in the home or outside of the home, however it shakes out. But like, get around some moms that are
So
doing
good.
some stuff.
So good.
And are prayer warriors that are fighting battles in the
right.
spirit and in the natural. Love your husband. Don't forget that you have a husband. For those of you that are married, pray for your husband. Ask him how you can be locked in. And ask the Lord to multiply your capacity.
Beautiful.
Because
So
your
good.
husband, my husband, Earl, his name's Earl, he seems to need me most when my kids need me I can't talk, when my kids need me the most.
Yeah.
It doesn't like he doesn't need me when my kids are asleep and they need nothing from me. He usually needs my attention when I have 5 million other things going on.
That's real.
But in that moment, I have to step back and say, God, you have my kids.
Yep.
I'm going to lean into Earl for this moment, hear his journal entry,
Precious.
and his
I
heart
love
is
it.
really pure.
It is. Yeah, it is.
And my kids are going to be fine. Because if
Yeah.
my marriage is strong,
Yep.
then my kids are strong.
So good.
So we love you.
Beautiful.
We're
Yes,
praying for
truly.
you. We're cheering you on.
Truly.
And mama, no more guilt.
Nope.
Bye.
Bye.
Be
Bye,
freed.
guilt. We love you, and we'll
Be freed.
have another conversation. Because we can't get it all in.
No,
It's
yeah.
true.
I
Love
could've
you,
talked.
girls.
Love you.
Bye.